Finally! Baldurs Gate 3 Patch 8 came out, with 12 new subclasses for each class. And again, finally, Dash Domain Cleric is out. It's one of my favorite D&D clerics. It's insanely cool subclass. And we will make insanely broken build for this cleric. When you're going with cleric as race, I would like to pick elf or half elf, mostly for our Fey ancestry. It will give you protection from being put into sleep, as well as give you advantage on saving throws against being charmed. It will give you extra protection to keep your concentration on most important spells. For sub-race you can pick whatever you like. If you're not first time on my channel, you know I like to roll with wood half-elf for extra movement speed, and extra movement speed is essential for clerics in my opinion. And to make this cleric completely broken, first of all we change his appearance. Yeah, now it's better. So, and now we pick our spells, or I would say cantrips. And as you will see, basically we get a bunch of different ones to choose from level 1. It's really important to make a right choice over here, and I got a nice trick for you to make this choice. So, as cleric, you definitely want guidance to help yourself or your allies succeed in dialogue checks, or any other checks, like opening the doors and other stuff. Then, you want to have this advantage in intimidation checks. It's very helpful in dialogue. And last cantrip, it's really hard to pick. Bursting Sinew is nice and lore accurate cantrip for clerics, actually for dash clerics, but you will have other ways to use your actions instead of just bursting out corpses for 1d10 piercing damage. So from these choices, nice choice will be light for some utility, but here's the trick, what you actually want. Actually, you want to have Bone Chill. You want to have this ability to inflict necrotic damage as dash domain cleric, and when you're just creating your character, you always will have this Toll of the Dead over here, so it always will be selected. But if you select Bone Chill, then you can create and select Toll of the Dead in your basic cantrips over here. So it's just hidden, and this way you can get 2 necromancy cantrips from the get-go. That's how you want to build your dash domain cleric from the start. And Toll of the Dead is one of the key features for our build. It's insanely powerful new cantrip. It deals necrotic damage. If target is on full health, it will be 1d8, so technically same as Bone Chill, but if he is damaged, you will deal 1d12. Of course, as other cantrips also can level up and deal more damage when you level up. Deity doesn't matter, pick whatever you like for your role-playing purposes. I go with Unicorn because why not? And while most of the time background doesn't matter, for this build it matters. We want to have soldier background to fully min-max our character. It gives us intimidation +3, and since our charisma won't be too high, we will be able to play as this cleric pretty nicely, and we will have this juicy +2 from our soldier background, and just in case we can use advantage from thaumaturgy in dialogue checks. Now, how we build this cleric? It's actually a little bit hard to do, since technically there's a lot of stuff going on for cleric. We need to be able to deal damage from our melee attacks, so we need some nice and high strength, and we will use strength based weapons. At the same time we want to survive, so constitution is also something to look for, and keep our concentration. And this type of cleric will be able to use medium armors, so dexterity is a must have to have 14 to have nice and strong armor class. That's my final distribution. We will have 14 in strength, dexterity, constitution, and 16 in wisdom. But there's a big but over here. We will want to respect this character later on to completely break him. For now, let's explore early game. And as cleric, you will always get access to a bunch of spells. You just need to make sure you're preparing them before the fight. Also, as dash domain cleric, you will get false life from level 1. That will give you some temporary points, but it's just too much for level 1 spell slot. You don't need the 7 points for 1 spell slot. But Ray of Sickness is nice and powerful spell. Overall, that's what we are starting with. We got 2 cantrips, Toll of the Dead and Bone Chill. Ranged spells will be Guiding Bolt for some radiant damage, and ability to have advantage on next attack rolls for our allies. That's a really big one. If you want to inflict disadvantage on attack rolls of enemies, then Ray of Sickness is way to go, because it can inflict poison, and poison is not condition that deals damage, it inflicts disadvantage on attack rolls. It will be harder for enemy to hit you and your allies. And the most powerful damaging spell, just in case you need to delete some enemies, inflict wounds. It melee range, but it's just insanely powerful spell. If you want to be supportive, then Bless is a way to go. It's concentration spell, so you need to keep concentration on it, but it gives +1d4 bonus to attack rolls. It gives your party ability to hit more often, and it's very powerful in early game when weapons are not very powerful. And command spell, just in case you want to command enemy to drop his weapon or approach you or flee from you or just stand still, that's what you can do. But right from the start you will notice one of the most powerful stuff that Dash Cleric will provide you, and that's why we need this Toll of the Dead. Normally every mage will have ability to only target one creature with his cantrip. It's not true for our Dash Cleric, because as you can see we got 2 charges instantly and we can start using 2 cantrips at 2 different targets at the same time right from the start of the game. Yeah, any cantrip can be used on 2 targets, on 2 different targets, but this cantrip should inflict necrotic damage. That's why we need this Toll of the Dead. Again, it's insanely powerful, but there's a problem with Toll of the Dead. Bone Chill will use your attack roll to inflict 1d8 necrotic damage, but Toll of the Dead will use wisdom saving throw of the target. So even while this target got -1 to wisdom, whether or not you succeed will be determined by your difficulty check of your spells. So chance to hit right now is 65%. If we fail this attack, then he will be saved and he will take no damage. Early stages use at your own caution. And Bless won't help you, because it's not attack roll. Bless will help you hit with Bone Chill up to 100%, and that's what you actually want to do. So basically you want to kinda in early game cast Bless on yourself and separate damage between multiple targets with Bone Chill. Dealing 2d8 damage technically in a fight at these early stages is just insane. And just in case you need to melt some beefy enemy, inflict wounds with high chance to hit, 100% will melt them insanely easy. Yeah, that's what you can do at level 1 as Cleric. Don't forget you can try to have a little bit of cheesy tactics. You got 2 spell slots in Nautiloid when you're leaving tutorial area, so try to use command drop. It will have not really high chance, but if you're lucky enough you will get his sword. Yeah, you can get this Everburn blade and it's pretty powerful blade. We don't need it as a Cleric, but other party members will like to use it. So we arrived to the beach and ready to level up. Level 2. We already getting more cool subclass features. We're getting Channel Divinity Touch of Dash. So Channel Divinity is class feature, basically your resource specific, which is only available for clerics. You will get 1 charge and it will recharge on short rest, so technically you can use it every fight. Just fight, short rest, and you can use it again in the next fight. And when you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can use this to deal extra necrotic damage. So that's another key for our build, for our strategy. What to pick from the skill list to prepare? I would say Healing Word is something you just want to have on your cleric. It's just bonus action, but if you're alive fallen in a fight, you heal him with bonus action. It's basically ability to pick up targets, pick up allies from range when they are down. That's insanely powerful and useful. Now, level 3. As their domain cleric, we will get blindness. It's nice. Ability to inflict disadvantage to target. And Ray of Enfeeblement will be always prepared if you're fighting enemies who's using strength for attacks. You know, some big and powerful trolls, hobgoblins and guys like that. They will deal half the damage with weapon attacks using strength. Just cast this stuff and he will hit like a small goblin. At this point also we unlock spells from level 2. And what we need over here. As cleric, just go for A. It will buff your whole party and increase maximum hit points by 5. That's a nice buff. Jumping forward a little bit, you can use spiritual weapon. It deals force damage. It used only bonus action to cast, so it's like smart idea to have. But again, it uses spell slot of level 2, and I like to keep my spell slots for other tasks, to upcast inflict wounds, for example, for more damage and stuff like that. Experiment and pick whatever spells you like if you don't feel these spells are useful, because the main power of this build will lie in our combos that I will explain basically after we get a little bit of gear. Right now we're at level 4, we can get 1 more cantrip, and this cantrip can be light for some utility purposes, 1 more spell and a feat. So this feat could be any feat you like. I would go straight to wisdom. Basically, as this type of cleric, we want to cast a lot of spells and we want to make sure they're hitting the targets. And technically, gameplay wise, nothing will change in these levels for cleric. You will have same amount of spells and you will use them in the same way, but you will have this option for upcasting your spells to level 2 and inflict more powerful strikes with your inflict wounds, with guiding bolt. But as their domain cleric, actually guiding bolt will most likely stay away from something you use a lot. Most of the time in a fight you want to make sure you got blessed before the fight, so you get more chances to hit. And now go and hit your enemies. If you hit enemy, you will be prompted with a reaction tab and you can use your touch of dash, channel divinity charge. Damage is just insane. It's +5 +2d12. At this point you can do it once per fight, but again, it's just too powerful not to use. This way you will easily go through the early game and level up a little bit more. But as I told you, levels is not only one thing to make your character insanely powerful. We need right equipment, so let's do it. And our first point of destination is Goblin Camp. That's where you want to go first. To be more precise, you want to go inside and find this lovely dude, Abdera. And we need this mace in his hand. So, to get this lovely mace, you need to interact with him. He will hit us, that's fine. And to get this awesome mace, you actually want him to change weapons, or you want to buy it from him. In this patch, however, I can't find a way how we can interact with him and get his mace through trading, but you can read this book over here and it will unlock you options to choose axe or ritual dagger, for example. So he will leave his mace on the table and you can take it, steal it from here. We also can initiate a fight in the Goblin Camp and get his mace by brutal force, or we can be a little bit sneaky. We can use him as improvised weapon if we got enough strength from Elixir of Heal Giant Strength, for example. Then move him in other room, and while he is moved we need to teleport in some other place by using quick checkpoints. From here on out it's a lot easier to just brute forcing him in our basic manner. Just make sure you got your full party ready and you are in turn-based mode, because he will try to run away. Not today, Abdirak. What is this lovely mace? First of all, it will deal necrotic damage, but there's a big but over here. It will grant you resistance to necrotic damage, and will also deal necrotic damage not just to target, but to all targets who is nearby, including yourself. And that's pretty nice for our build, because after a single hit we can use Touch of Dash and basically melt our opponents, but at the same time inflicting a little bit of necrotic damage in nearby area. Funniest part, even objects will take necrotic damage, like this barricade, for example. So it's definitely smart not to overuse this weapon and use it in very cautious way. But we can fix all issues in our build when we arrive to the Grim Forge. First of all, of course, by leveling up. And that's how we level up at this point of the game. Basically, at level 5 we're finally unlocking our bread and butter spell for Cleric. It's insanely powerful and very useful. So from this point I would stick with this spell list. Yeah, you can still use spiritual weapon, it's still powerful, but our most important spell is Spirit Guardians. We're adding mass healing word if all allies have fallen, and revivify if we fail to pick up allies with healing word. But main damaging source will be Spirit Guardians for us. And finally we can use it as necrotic damage. Because if you ever played this game before, you know that when you unlock Spirit Guardians, basically when you're going forward right to the Act 2, most of enemies will start to resist necrotic damage or be straight out invulnerable to it. So radiant damage is just way to go, and you're using necrotic damage only in few fights when enemies got radiant retort. Not for us. Unlike other classes, we got this super special subclass feature from level 6. Spells you cast ignore resistance to necrotic damage. So now we're being very powerful necrotic damage user and especially spell user. At the same time we will have always prepared animate death spell, so we can create our own necrotic army. But that's the theme for another build. From now on, spells like inflict wounds will ignore resistances, as well as Toll of Death will ignore resistances too. But to actually fix all problems we need to reach level 7 and actually respec our character. To fix all problems Cleric have, we need to do only one thing. We just need to start not as Cleric. As Cleric you got proficiency in medium armors in most Cleric subclasses, but this leaves you vulnerable to other damage sources, and it will require you to have a lot of stats distributed in dexterity, and you don't want a lot of dexterity. So instead of starting as Cleric, we just want to have first level as Fighter. We will use defense fighting style for extra armor class, and now we can focus on Wisdom as our main spellcasting ability, and we're getting 15 Strength, 16 Constitution, 17 Wisdom. From level 2 we're switching back to Cleric and following the same road that was described in the video before, with only one subtle change. At level 5, when we're picking our feat, instead of going for ability improvement, we're going for Heavy Armor Master. It will grant us +1 strength, so our strength will be round up at 16, as well as ability to reduce incoming damage by 3. This will not only give us ability to resist all damages that we inflict to ourselves with our lovely mace, but also keep our concentration better. And here, by starting as Fighter, we'll get Constitution saving throw proficiency, so it's a lot easier to keep concentration. And at level 7 we will be level level 1 fighter, level 6 cleric. Now, if you want to just roleplay as Dash Domain Cleric, you can continue as it is. But actual features that cleric gets after he levels up more and more is pretty useless for us. So instead, we will continue as fighter. It will give us ability to use action surge, which will grant us extra action for 1 turn. And let me show you how powerful it is, because in this Grim Forge, you also will craft adamantine splint armor. It will lower all incoming damage by 2, combined with our reduction of 3 from our proficiency, from our feat basically, heavy armor master, and it will give us protection from critical hits. That's a big deal, because now we will be a lot more protected, and we will have a lot easier time to keep our concentration. And that's why it's so cool to be fighter and cleric at the same time. With low dexterity, enemies will come close to you, and you don't need high movement speed or other utilities to come close to them. On turn number 1, all you need to do is to just turn on your spirit guardians and use them with necrotic damage. It will ignore resistances, therefore it will deal pretty nice chunk of damage. And it's easy to use, you just cast it, they spin around you, you come close to enemies and they will be damaged. Normally as cleric, that's end of your turn, but right now as fighter, you can cast action surge. And right now when they are damaged, we finally can use Toll of the Dead. It also will ignore resistance and we can attack 2 targets at the same time. As you can see, chance to hit is a little bit weird, but that's how powerful we are. You're not locked into your spell slots as normal clerics, because normal clerics will cry a lot, because spell slots are so limited and you got no other options only to hit with your mace, and mace probably will be really weak. As Dash Domain Cleric, you can just hit with your mace, inflict loads of extra necrotic damage around you, while taking 0 damage yourself, because we're reducing any damage that is lower than 5, and we're also dealing Touch of the Dead with insane up to 29 damage numbers. That extra necrotic damage on top. Yeah, that's how powerful this Dash Cleric can be, and that's amazing in my opinion, since we can use bunch of Touches of the Dead after we level up a little bit as cleric. We will be able to use it 2 times in a battle. So combination is really cool and can unleash loads of damage upon your enemies, but what we need to work on is of course our Toll of the Dead chance to hit. It's just 60% right now, but it will be changed when we reach Act 2. But before we'll go over there, let me explain how you level up until the end game. So for full build, we will just continue as fighter. And here there's new subclass Arcane Archer. If you wish the build for Arcane Archer coming soon, make sure to write comment if you wish to see it faster. And for this build we're going with Eldritch Knight of course. It's a smart choice because it will advance our spell slots forward, so we're not stacking on low level spell slots. It also will give us the ability to bound our weapon, and it will stick in our hand forever, so we can't be disarmed basically from this point. And also we get access to nice cantrips like Booming Blade for example. Other cantrips does not matter for the build, you can pick whatever you like. Maybe you got some rings on this character that will give you extra damage when you're lighted by light source, so light will be nice pick. What is really important is to get shield, so you get protection when it's really needed, and sometimes you just need 1 damage to finish enemies off. So magic missile for utility just in case, and expanded spell list is nice and useful for utility basically. We're going with Long Strider if your party don't have it. If your party have Long Strider, go with Enhanced Sleep and Feather Fall. Fighter is very good because he gets another feat as any other class at level 10, and this feat should be Warcaster. Warcaster will give you advantage on Constitution saving throws to keep your concentration on. You get more spells, so you can pick any spell you like as always. And finally at level 11 we get this extra attack from fighter. That's a big one. It's really important to also understand that at level 11 you can change your spells, and if you don't like for example spell you choose on previous level like Thunder Wave, now you can change it for utility spells. You won't be able to pick utility spells at level 10 however, so that's the point where you can finally pick like Enhanced Sleep if you need. Also my character got 17 wisdom. It's because you want wisdom as high as possible, but it won't give you any bonuses if it's 17 and not 16. That's why for this character we definitely want this +1 wisdom bonus from Act 1. If you don't know how to get this bonus, then don't worry and just change your stats, get 16 wisdom and 10 charisma or 10 dexterity. Charisma for role-playing and dialogues, dexterity from a little bit higher initiative roll. And we're finishing at level 12. While playing as fighter for multiclass, we also get one more feat available, and this will give us ability to finally max out our wisdom, considering we got +1 into wisdom, or you can even get +2 into strength to have more ability and more chances to hit with normal attacks. Now items to completely break and finish our build. So these gloves, you will find them from Trader near Gityanki Crochet, from Lady Esther. Whenever you deal damage with a weapon attack, target receives 1d4 penalty to saving throw against your next spell. Then buy this helmet from Lantarf in Moonrise Towers. Fistbreaker helm will give us everything we need, +1 to spell save DC. That's basically ability to inflict full damage with Toll of the Dead, always. Also in Abandoned House in the Shadows you will find Ring of Mental Inhibition. Whenever a foe fails saving throw against one of your spells, they gain Mental Fatigue. And Mental Fatigue is a way to reduce ability for targets to sustain and resist our spells with Wisdom saving throw requirements. Basically again, that's another ability to inflict full damage with Toll of the Dead most and all of the time. And by the end of Act 2 you can find Ketrick Shield that will give you +1 bonus to spell save DC. And this will transform you into most broken Dash Cleric possible with necrotic damage focus. It's insanely cool and powerful. Just look over here. On turn number 1 you just turn on your Spirit Guardians as always to deal some necrotic damage to enemies nearby. You don't have any actions, but you can pump Action Surge, so now you will have one extra action that you will use with Booming Blade cantrip on one of enemies in range. This will deal extra damage, as well as it will give you ability to use your next attack since you are a fighter and you got 2 attacks with 1 action. These 2 attacks will inflict a bunch of necrotic damage around, and also you can use Touch of Dash to completely melt enemies. If enemy got hit by your attack and survived, you also will have bonus on chance to hit with Toll of the Dead, and it will be able to hit targets with like 90% chance most of the time to completely disintegrate them. That's basically how it works, and it's amazing. So the best part is that technically in a fight you don't need loads of spell slots, and Channel Divinity charges will just recharge on short rest. In heavy armor your armor class will be so high that enemies will most likely miss you most of the time, and if they manage to hit you, you still get shield spell as a reaction. When small enemies is not resistant to necrotic damage, that's how it looks like. Oh my god, pure beauty. I hope you enjoyed this build and you will have blast playing this Dash Cleric in Baldurs Gate 3 patch 8. But of course this cleric needs some party members, so make sure to check builds on the screen right now for other cool builds with new subclasses.